going to be some memories I've had of Janesville, Wisconsin. So we're going to come to 5 points here, 5-way intersection. And I'll have some footage of, our trip there, and then some Google Maps images.
Shy on the street signs. That was 5 points. We'll stop at Frosty Freeze up here for you now.
It's closed.
Oh. For good or?
Just for the winter.
Nice.
So I keep up with them on Facebook.
By sheer coincidence. 4 to 6 days later.
Now this building here used to be called Electroalarm. It was a security system place, home and business and stuff. I remember getting some brochures and that for like the old smoke sentinels and stuff. Wish I still had those.
Well, that's been going a long time, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I would go up and look at the house, you can see it now, and then we have to backtrack a little bit down to, what did I say it was? Crosby?
Mm-hmm.
It's a bridge, isn't it, going across?
I think so, yeah. Never Frost Freeze. Yeah, ice cream store. As you can tell, there's no indoor seating. You just go up to the windows and wait for your ice cream, order it, and then wait. That is. I remember when I was young, they had a Kmart K10 plastic blade fan up on the right side on the shelf. Well, I always remember that. They had the yellow fluorescent lights, and we'd try to talk Dad into going there when we were young, too.
Drove right by Sunnyside Shopping Center.
Yeah, that's the one I just mentioned in my drum video. Now, seeing the Sunnyside neighborhood makes me think of the Sunnyside Shopping Center we have in Janesville. Had a Piggly Wiggly and Kenny Rexall drug. And since it was so close to us when we lived there, the Piggly Wiggly was our grocery store of choice, and we had our prescriptions at the Kennedy Rexall. Yeah, it used to be Century.
Yep.
Arches that they had in the Century food store in Janesville, where we lived. So yeah, the arches like that, then the wall with the doors would be and stuff, and the windows. I always used to think of them as teeth marks in the frosting of an Oreo cookie. What was cool about their floor, though, was it's checkerboard, but it wasn't, big contrast color-wise, like, black and white, blue and white, red and white, like that. It was actually just a two-tone beige and cream. It's very little contrast, but you could still see the contrast between the two.
Used to be Rolling Pin Bakery somewhere here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe up here.
They're still around. They just moved to a different spot.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we'd always get our birthday cakes, and with 5 of us kids, they got a lot of our business, to say the least. Now, I believe that Casey's there used to be a Citgo station, as I'll mention later on. That's the station we'd always get gas at, especially if we were just getting home from a trip. That McDonald's was never there when we lived here, neither was this credit union. A lot of this stuff was never there. This was, though.
That used to be the roller rink, didn't it? Where AutoZone is, I think.
Mm-hmm. Then it was a gymnastics thing.
Oh, was it?
For a while. I remember Jess went to it. And then Goodwill. That's the one my sister Steph worked at, as I mentioned in my BRK 769 ACI video. The unit just like this was the second alarm I've ever owned, because my sister Steph found it for me in Goodwill when she worked there. In Janesville, Wisconsin, it is. They had 3 stores that I know of. The first one was in this kind of, not really rundown building, just an old building. Then it went to one on Milton Avenue. No, Court Street. That's where Steph worked at. And I remember another thing she got me was an old Manning Bellman floor fan, like this. Come to think, when I think that was my second fan I ever owned. Now AutoZone again.
Historical site.
So this is where we turn to get to our house, obviously, as you're going to see here.
street goes straight through, Nano.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much ended when we lived here.
Yeah, that did end, just bogged down or whatever. And there it is. It was, what, green, and then they changed it to blue, and now it's a lot better color. That's pretty nice color.
I think that's beige. Get a good picture now.
You want me to stop? Probably a tree we planted.
Yep.
Big one there. One in back, I'm guessing.
So this is that ash right there.
You put a fence up, I see. Yeah, nice looking house yet.
Oh, yeah. So that house over there, that's always been that color. But the house on this side, it was light blue when we lived here. And also, if I remember right, they had a through-the-wall fan that went from the kitchen to the garage there. Here at our place, there's a storm drain there. I can remember Dad would wash the car out in the driveway here. I'd sit over here. So we'll watch the little rivulets coming down the driveway, down the curve, and into the drain there. And down here, Parker High School. As you can see, it's really close. So that's where Gail and Steph and Jeff went to. I remember a couple times in the fall, I'd come out front and hear the band practicing. Now, over here, you can see it, T128. You know, it used to be a Soundmaster 115, as I've mentioned before. It looks like they were here a couple times because it rotated there. Yeah, it used to be a Soundmaster 115. I remember, I've mentioned this in siren groups and stuff. Let's see, you can get back to our place. So I was sitting on the front yard here. It's the first Wednesday of the month. It sounded and I got scared so much I fell backwards in the chair. Now across the street here, that was our neighbors that had that warts detector that was on the basement stairway I told you about in an early eBay video. I remembered about these. I'm not sure if it was this variant or the original, but it was in the house of our neighbors who lived across the street from us in Janesville. It was actually installed on the ceiling that led to their lower level. Still the same old street lights. Might have put different bulbs in them. I remember when we lived here with mercury vapor. Probably have sodium vapor in them now. But as you can see though, that tree is overgrown with light now. So that's going to affect its output, obviously. Now, one thing I remember, though, one summer night, we were in the driveway, and we were listening to the car song Magic on my sister Steph's Sony boombox that she had. So every time I hear that song, I think of that night. I'm about to prove myself wrong, because there's that Cisco station that we used to go to get gas. So yeah, like I said, that wasn't there, I don't think. That building probably was. And that Casey's definitely wasn't there. And like I said, the McDonald's and that Quick Trip, that wasn't there. And Taco Bell, that wasn't. This was, though. Well, it's the road, obviously. Yeah, I remember that. Little rice bowl.
Yeah, it's right over to the, oh, wait a minute. Maybe it was down here on this side of the river.
Yeah, you could probably guess it was a Chinese restaurant. Now, I remember it was a white building, like an old rickety wooden one.
So the rice bowl was at the bottom here on the left. It's long gone. Right there, I think.
But then they closed that down, tore it down, and they built a brand new restaurant. I don't think it was on the side of the old building. I think it was somewhere else, like around here or something. right there, you can see Adams Elementary School. We didn't pass by it, obviously, but that's the second school I ever went to after the ABC Nursery. I remember it had an old AC fire alarm system that was in continuous. Then there was a Soundmaster 115 siren on the side, too. I got to hear it go off a couple times.
Boy, that's a mess up there where they redid that, all that snaky road through there.
The next day, obviously, and we're at this intersection here. However, I was ignorant and completely forgot about this over here. It's Festival Foods now, but this was our old Kmart. We call it that because we had two Kmarts at one point. We had this one, and then there was one on the other side of town that opened in the mid-'80s. We'll get to that when, its turn. I've mentioned this in the forums and stuff. Like right in this area here, there was this little snack bar. They had the full restaurant back here. Well, not like a full restaurant, but full in-store restaurant, Kmart kitchen type place, eatery. Yeah, they had a snack bar here, and facing the window, they had this icing machine. Well, actually, the front faced the snack bar itself, but the back faced the window. And it had a 3-bladed fan that looked like this. And when it was running, it created this pitch. You'd be in those windows there. I used to call it the drinker fan, and I'd like to stand by it when people were walking by and it was running, watch people's reflections disrupt the reflection in the window, or watch people as they pass by, their silhouettes would disrupt the reflection from the windows. Now, also, speaking of the windows, I had this weird dream once where I was standing in there, around this area, then there was a couple other windows, but like this window here, it was daytime. Then there was a wall. Then the window over here, it was night. Dead of night. So now, in the entry here, they have these ceiling-mounted vertical unit heaters, as they're called. It was called the branded Sealed Flame 360 or Concealed Flame 360, one of the two. They look like these Modine ones, or Modine, however you pronounce the manufacturer. And then in the back here, what the automotive department was, they had a smaller Brome heater, like the ones you'd see in a bathroom at a house. You might even have. And I also remember the old blue light specials, when they had the old rotating beacon lights, and then they switched to the cool Dietz strobe lights, which I would not mind having. And this is where I saw the old Life alarms that I mentioned, in this video. We're mentioning that in eBay. Saw these in Kmart in Janesville, Wisconsin, of course. And then I saw the Black & Decker ones when they made the switch from GE to Black & Decker. Now, over here, Blaine's Farm and Fleet. I almost said Fleet Farm, but that's not right. Technically, because it's the family friends of the Blaine brothers who opened Fleet Farm. So this, as I mentioned in my drain cover collection, had the Genova PVC drains in the entryway. And in fact, this is where we got that Universal Smoke Signal SS700, my very first alarm. And then their cash registers actually created this stock cash register beep. That was cool. And then back here, right there. This was called Shakey's. Ye old Shakey's. They had, the signage was in ye old English wording. Then they had a buffet, which was really good. And sometimes they have a little band, and other times it's a pianist, which was actually my music teacher in school. I think I even mentioned that. Then over here, to the hallway to the restrooms, to the left, there was an entry to the kitchen, and sometimes they'd have a little patent 12-inch fan in the entryway. Again, I mentioned that in the forums. And in the back, they have a little arcade, and even to this day, when I hear some of the old Pac-Man startup sounds, I think of that. And even further back, there was an office. And back then, little me, back then I thought it was a house. You know, like just part of a house. And imagine that, though, if you lived in a house that was connected to this and, you know, you were the owner, so you could come in and have your own party or whatever. Or if you have a midnight snack, just power up the kitchen. But as you can see, they changed it around because now it's a patio there. So they remodeled it when they made the Milwaukee Grill. Woodlands is over there. And that's right here. Huge place, as you can see. It was their like third location, as far as I know. Second that I remember. The first one was down here in the post office, right there. I'll get to that though. Yeah, it's a nice big store. And it's had a good battery selection. My brother and his wife and some of their kids who live in Janesville still go there to shop too. And they'll go to that Festival Foods that you saw. Goodwill. I think that's Goodwill. Maybe one of these days, sometime, you get to see that thrifting video. And this is the one that's off Milton Avenue. That's been here for forever, that cycle. This last one is Janesville Mall. You'll have a map of that coming up in the next video. Remember I told you that was the one that had the Joe Sam success drain covers. Well, this is the Big Lots, as you saw. But it used to be a Kohl's grocery store. And in case you're wondering, yes, if they were still around, they'd be part of the department store chain, and they'd be a supercenter, like a Walmart. So it's the same guy. Let's see. And this used to be a Walgreens, but it's over here now. So yeah, here's the facade. It's changed. Like there used to be lights all up and down the roof there. But it was changed even before they closed. The Kohl's closed. There's this guy on the internet that's been chronicling the former store locations. He said that this one is the best preserved of them all, currently. Because they have the same floor tiles and that. And then right here, where the checkouts were, I don't see them anymore, but they had these cool drum lights. They're like orange and blue and mercury vapor. Yeah, there's the flying carpet entryway. Or magic carpet entryway, one of the two. So if you went in through that way, you get to Kohl's, and then this way, you get to Walgreens. And follow me now, you get to Planet Fitness through there. And I remember the music in there, pretty cool. And they had the speakers. That had good sound quality. And the reverberation on the entryway was pretty cool. But anyway, the Walgreens, yeah, we'd go there once in a while. And for you fan people, I've mentioned this before, but in the summertime, they always had such cool fans, like different battery-operated ones, and the Cool-It one that I told you about. I think I even mentioned that in this video. I always would see it at Walgreens. They had it. And it had an interesting smell. Kind of like a sweet smell, if you think about it. Kind of hard to explain, but something like vanilla. That's something else. So yeah, it was a cool store. But like I said, we didn't go there as much as the Rexall because we didn't have our prescriptions here. Now over here is the post office. But this is where the Woodmans used to be, I was telling you about. I think that might have been the main entry. Or might not have. Looks like they changed it. They probably changed the front when they switched to the post office. So there's an entry there, but I don't think that was their main entry. Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, it was a cool store too, though. So I remember in the exit, next to the exit, there was this big heater fan with 5 big square blades like this. Then over here was the deli, And there was a stairway that led up to probably offices. And of course, your meats and produce and stuff were out on the border. We're on the exterior, not the exterior, perimeter of the store. And like back in here, there was an Ebco fountain. And back in the day, the combination of the font and the way the letters were oriented on the handle, I thought it said Dube, like D-U-B-E. And then the floors were interesting. They were tile, but they had this texture on them, kind of like this. And then right in here, probably about like up and to the right of that KT Premier Properties, there was a class 4.2 floor drain. And like, this was the checkouts right here. And right in front of the checkouts, like that, there was this triangular area of the ceiling. It was set above the normal ceiling, and it had red ceiling tiles, 1x2 tiles, and then had white supports. And with the triangular shape, and then the red and white, this thing had a Nabisco logo. And the checkouts, they were the old school NCR checkouts with the red and green light and the asterisk-shaped window. You've seen it, because it's the stock image I used for the grocery store beep elevator thing. It's just like that. And I remember, too, going back to that ceiling area, I saw the stairway over here, so I thought that area was where they spied on you and spied on the cashiers and stuff, making sure they didn't, pocket any change or anything. I don't think it was. I think it was probably just, decoration. Yeah, it was a cool store, too. Mom and I would come here, and then, even though it said not to, I'd always ride on the end of the cart, kind of like the old school fire trucks where the firefighters would ride right on the end. Yeah, it was a cool store. I'll get you a link to that Kohl's website, too. Now, I remember in this McDonald's, back in the day, they might have remodeled, but in the restroom they had a floor drain with lozenge-shaped holes, aka diamond-shaped holes, like this. There's the Crescent Park Shopping Center I told you about. Can't remember what that was originally. It might have been like a grocery store or something. But this is where the Yamaha music schools were, where I took keyboard lessons. I think it was like in this area here, like second or third storefront down. Remember I mentioned it in my RX-11 video. Going back to the Electones, back in the 80s, I'm not sure if you ever knew this, but I attended the Yamaha music schools. We had one in Crescent Park Mall in Janesville. So you had all kinds of Yamaha keyboards that we'd be playing. And then back here was like a Bishop's Buffet, and over here was a jewelry store. And that caught fire and caused smoke damage to the rest of the mall, or this area at least. The Yamaha music schools are still around though. Still have a website for them. Now, just around this corner here is where my brother Jeff used to live. Right there. It's a cool place. When you walk through the front door, you went right to the bedrooms instead of like a foyer or something like that. Cool place though. It had a screened-in porch. That's where they did their smoking and stuff. And the basement was finished, or kind of partially finished. And it had a drain with a concave cover. think I mentioned that in one of my estate browsing videos. And then they just had a 2nd gen SA67D and a Family Guard 83R downstairs. Well, this video's gone on long enough, so we'll go to part 2, where I'll mainly do maps and have my voice over there. So thanks for watching.